All right. So the first question would be, what was the artist attempting to do? So for me, before I went to the play, I actually found a really nice, like when I was just like looking it up, I found a like an analysis of it from like on Miami's theater department website. So it really like gave me a nice understanding beforehand and like made things easier to understand. So for me, I would definitely say the director was attempting to show Shakespeare's themes in like a modernist approach and throughout history on how like the like love rebellion and like just standing up for individuality and breaking free from like the social expectations, like how the Duke wanted them to marry certain people and they didn't want to, that they kind of compared this to like the 1960s counterculture through the just like the dressing and whatnot, like how the fairies were like in floral hippie outfits, and then so like they had different aspects, like the class divisions off by like the what was it? Just like their costumes and whatnot. So I thought what he was trying to do was just to show how like these themes go across time and they continue to shape our world today.
Yeah, I kind of like going more into some of Shakespeare's themes, like what was, the artist of the director at Miami trying to do and what was, Shakespeare trying to do years back when he created this. And I think one of the main things was trying to show how irrational human emotions are. I think one way he like attempted to do this was by having the character Puck and all of the fairies kind of cast spells on these normal, regular people. So like when Puck casts a spell on Lysander and Demetrius, making them fall in love with what was her name? Hermia? Yeah. No, Helena. Helena. I get them confused. Making them both fall in love with Helena when Lysander is initially in love with Hermia. It just these spells show how complex, the human mind could really be, and that, in an instant of time, your opinions about someone could change like very, very easily. And although there was like a spell cast upon these people, it still shows how like they were going back and forth between Hermia and Helena. And then we also see how like Helena's mind and emotions kind of become a little irrational when this happens as well. She was initially really set on Demetrius. She was head over heels in love with him, and he did not like her at all. And then this spell was cast upon him, and then he was head over heels in love with her. And then she was like, okay, I don't know if I want this anymore. You guys are playing a trick on me. I don't know if I'm in love with you anymore. So just kind of showing how her, emotions became pretty irrational throughout the play when Puck was casting these spells on people other than her. So I think that was kind of one of the main themes that, Shakespeare as well as the artist at Miami was trying to convey throughout the entirety of this play.
I agree with both of you. This was actually my first play that I've ever seen like live. So it was a little bit hard for me to understand. But after hearing like both of your guys' explanation, I feel like I agree with you. And I think that like they did have very irrational emotions. And I think that like Shakespeare's intent was to explore the modern like ideas of love and like the hardships that come with love. And although like it's irrational emotions, like that is still a hardship that's involved with the emotion of love and exploring a new relationship with someone and like the reality of of creating like a relationship, a bond. And I think Puck, like the intervention of Puck um was kind of necessary to exemplify the reality of relationships and how that there are hardships that come along with it. And although that they might be sort of extreme in the way that it was like projected and portrayed, since it was not realistic, it still really captured how relationships don't have an easy time of finding that path of love. And yeah.
Yeah, I was the same way. Like that was the first one I'd went to. And like the only reason I even like had any idea about like the whole like 1960s, like just like the theme and whatnot going on was just because I found that article before I went. So like it just it gave me a different perspective going in, which allowed me to like associate things with like different meanings. But like if I hadn't seen that beforehand, I definitely would have been a lot harder to understand that. So I think that's where it kind of leads into the second question and whether or not they achieved those attentions or intentions. So like for me, the one intention I'd said he was just trying to show the theme of breaking free from like the societal expectations and whatnot throughout time. So like I think that's not like a set in stone yes or no. I think it kind of like depends on the audience and like what they're trying to get out of it. So like for me, like I was going in there with the intention, like with already some of the knowledge and the intention of analyzing it, like from like the thought and the theme and all of that. But just from a perspective of just going there for pure entertainment, just like a casual viewer, I don't think they necessarily like would have put two and two together. They probably would have just went in there for like the performance itself with like all like the settings and the characters and the songs and whatnot. So I think it kind of just depends on um kind of the audience's perspective and like why they went there and whether or not like that attention was achieved.
Yeah, I agree. I like didn't really read anything about this play before going in. So I was kind of just there to, hopefully enjoy the play, but also knowing that I had to do like an analysis of it. One of the one things I did look up online was like, what's kind of like the genre or what are we trying to get at? Like, should I be expected to cry or laugh? And most of the reviews were that it was like a comedy. And I know we didn't really touch on that in the first question, but I think he was kind of, or the artist was kind of attempting to make this play into a comedy. And I think, we saw that a lot as being audience members. Like everybody was laughing during most of the play. Like I feel like most of this play was a comedy. So I would say, they were able to achieve their intentions of there being some comedic relief throughout the play. Um, One of the examples of this I noticed was that I think it was Oberon, one of the main fairies, started to break out into a song, I think like midway through the play. And the song that he started singing was Hey Jude by the Beatles.
Hmm.
And like as soon as he started singing that, everybody started laughing. And again, I've never seen this play before. So I was like, why is everyone laughing? It's a serious song. It's kind of a serious moment. What makes this song so funny? And then I realized, in William Shakespeare's original version, it probably wasn't going to be a Beatles song playing. It was probably something else. So it was fun to see that, like, now I know each different version of the show can kind of choose what song they want. And again, I still don't know why choosing Hey Jude was necessarily funny. But like, I think, the director of Miami's play was attempting to get people to laugh in the stands. And I think that goal was definitely reached.
I agree with you. I also think that was reached as well because I don't know if we went to the same like time or day, but or actually only one might have passed, but like everyone was laughing during mine as well, and I was also struggling to understand what was like making the joke because like yeah, like you said, they were during very serious or not very serious moments, but semi-serious moments, and um, I think also along with comedy, I feel like even though his intent was to make it like a comedy, I feel like he also intended for it to be more realistic in a sense. And like by that, I mean when we're all exploring like love and like everyone's trying to find new relationships, you sort of try to find like the good in moments and you try to find those like happy moments where you just make a stupid joke and you guys just laugh. And that's what like makes that relationship and makes like everything so much stronger moving forward. And even not in just the sense of like a relationship standpoint, even like friendships, like um yeah, like it's just complex and you just need a lot of it's not even comedy. It's just like the vibrance of like a personality and like connecting with someone. And I feel like that was reached through Shakespeare and with the Miami director too.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
I don't know if
agree.
like oh sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna agree with that because like I was kind of getting some, realism in there too, even though this play was so
Mhm.
not so magical, but like the spells and, the man turning into a donkey, like kind of out there, but like uh Titania and Nick Bottom's relationship and like the fairies alongside them, like the fairies getting annoyed at Nick and like all of his requests and everything reminded me a lot of like, the friends that hate your boyfriend or, just something that happens in everyday real life. So I was surprised that a lot of this play was so relatable because a lot of the situations were so unrelatable, like uh, going to a duke and queen's wedding, that's never going to happen. Your boyfriend turning into a donkey, that's never going to happen. But like the script behind it is pretty realistic.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that was like one of the, I feel like that's also like kind of like one of the intentions of like the director was like trying to like take this like magical like fairy tale theme and play and turn it into something more modern and relatable that the audience can actually like understand more. Which I thought there was a couple key things that I like like I when I went in there I wasn't really I didn't know what to expect. Obviously I'd read that article beforehand, but like with the Shakespeare play I didn't really expect there to be a whole lot of just um like songs and whatnot. So like that was really nice, and I thought just adding that entertainment aspect behind like the songs and like this like the face all like the face coverings and like the stuff in the fairy's hair and whatnot, just like little details like all added to the plot. And I thought like the set was also really well done, like just like through like different lighting and like where they had different scenes, like whether on top or like in the, or down low. It was just like even though it was all the same set, just like they could change small little elements just to make it feel like a completely different um set between each scene. But if you guys don't have anything else to add, we can go on to the third question,
Yeah,
which
sure.
this one was like I don't really know how to answer this one. This one was more of like, did was the attempt worthwhile? Like when I went to the notes, it was kind of like necessarily the answer to the third one won't be the same answer as the second one. So like I would definitely say the attempt was worthwhile, even though like the attentions could or could not have been achieved just based on like just the audience's reaction and whether they what they went into it and like whether they were really thinking about the themes or if they just went for more entertainment. But I just think from like an entertainment aspect of it, I think it was definitely worthwhile and it was very well put together, whether through all the just the songs and the lighting and whatnot. I would definitely say it was worthwhile, even if it wasn't, even if they didn't achieve their attention, I still think it was worthwhile. But if you guys have anything else to add, I didn't really know exactly what to answer for that one.
Yeah, I also struggled a little bit on this one, but I am gonna disagree. I said the attempt wasn't worthwhile, and I think that's also just because of my own like opinion on the play and on how I felt after watching it. Like, my headspace and my opinion on the play before coming in and before seeing the show versus after the show was kind of the same. I feel like I didn't leave the play with anything. I didn't learn any new life lessons. I wasn't brought to tears by like any emotions. I know we talked about it being a comedy, but I actually didn't find myself laughing at any time throughout the play. It was just, there was nothing I could take from that play and, take with me as I go through this journey of life. It was just kind of like a over the head watch. There was really just nothing to it for me. And like, I feel like I'm being a harsh critic right now, but I don't think that, the world would be any different if we didn't have this play. I don't think it's really affecting or impacting anybody's life that much. I could be completely wrong. This could have been like, a life-changing, groundbreaking play for any of you guys, but again, like it's not changing my life. It didn't teach me anything. I didn't feel like I learned anything from it. And the fact that I didn't necessarily even enjoy it, um, I honestly came out of the play feeling a little bit more confused, rather than like, that feeling when you see a good movie, you're like, okay, that was worth it. I paid money because it was good and I enjoyed it. This one, I was just like, this was a waste of my time. And it didn't do it for me. So, in my opinion, I would say the attempt wasn't worthwhile because of all of those reasons. Um, but yeah, I would love to hear if you guys.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that. third. Now I'm thinking about like that third question is definitely more based on like individual perspective and whether or not whatnot. So like even though I necessarily didn't get anything out of it, it was like that was the first play I'd ever gone to in person. So it was just like a first time experience. And it's like in that sense that could be worthwhile. It's because like I never, to be honest, before this class, I would have never even considered going to a play. I did enjoy it, so like it was just the entertainment aspect, just like just experiencing it for the first time. But although I don't see myself going to another one, I would definitely go back and say that it was at least worthwhile to experience once.
I agree with actually both of you guys. So I feel like this attempt was worthwhile because it was very entertaining and like the actors put so much work into what they did and I feel like they did an amazing job at acting and the costumes looked amazing and the set was amazing. But like you said, like both of you said, I just feel like maybe theater just isn't for me personally. And like this was also my first time, like you said, Justin, too. And I just feel like the intent, like they achieve Shakespeare and the director achieved their intentions, but I just feel like it was like you said, Tess, like I kind of felt a little more confused after watching it. And like I felt like I was kind of like coming into this assignment with like no knowledge of this, like what happened. And I just feel like it was kind of the point could have been portrayed a lot better in maybe like a movie or like a short little film. Like, I don't know. Maybe I just feel like it being a play was just a bit extreme for the concept they were trying to teach and like their intention and like I don't know, there's a lot of movies where it's a relationship and it's about falling in love and finding your path with that person and I just feel like maybe it was just a little too unrealistic that made it a little bit more confusing because it was also live too. Um, but I feel like they did like an amazing job and like they put so much effort into what they performed and it was great. It was honestly great. I just like you guys said, I just don't think it was for me personally.
That's a
Yeah, I
good
definitely.
take on
Oh,
it
sorry, go ahead.
because, like, I agree. I don't think, after coming out of that, I was like, I don't think theater is for me. I think them kind of using like the Shakespearean like words and
Yeah.
sentences is what made
Mhm.
it super confusing because I found
Mhm.
myself being like, I don't even understand the sentence that's being spoke right now. Like I had to do a spark notes of the plot of the play because another reason I think, I talked to some of my roommates and they all knew what this play was. They're like, "Oh, you're going to see A Midnight Summer's Dream." So it's a popular play and I think a lot of people have seen it before and it actually is, I think it was a movie or it got turned into a movie. So I think it's very popularized where people know the whole point of what's going on. So I feel like if I were to have seen it before, play or movie version, and then watched it again, like Miami's version, I would have had such a better understanding of what was going on. But since this was like the first, I've been to plays before, but like it was like Wicked and Mamma Mia, and that's easy to kind of catch along with. This one is, I would say, is like my first Shakespearean play, and it was just way too confusing. And I feel like it gave me maybe a little bit of a bad image of, theater. But
Mhm.
you did make a good point of saying, the actors did their jobs, the set design, like costume design, all of that was like amazing. And I feel like I didn't say that before, but their efforts were definitely worthwhile. They made a production that was a play, a good play, but
Mhm.
it just didn't hit my nerves, I guess.
Yeah, I would
Mhm.
definitely say it like goes to like the intention of the audience. Like the only reason like I wasn't confused or like I understood what was going on is because I had like before I even went in there, I didn't really care about like the entertainment aspect or like having anything spoiled. I kind of just like looked everything up beforehand and like I found that article that like showed like what they were trying to do and like whatnot. So like I think definitely having that information beforehand made it a lot easier to review it because I went in there with the idea of doing this assignment and reviewing it while some people might go in there with just like wanting the entertainment or like supporting a friend or family or whatnot. It's like going in there with the intention to review it and finding all that information beforehand definitely made it a lot easier. And I think that's when the intention of the director actually succeeds. But like when they're going in there just for the entertainment or support, I don't think that's like they wouldn't succeed in that in that scenario. It's more of just an entertainment aspect.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. You know, going in kind of seeing yourself in that like I guess um critic shoes to know that this is something you're going to be reviewing and then, you know, even going in with these questions in mind, it was I don't know, it just wasn't for me. But do we want to add anything else?
That's
Um,
I think I'm good.
I could add something else. I
Okay.
feel like even though we said like the attempt or sorry, even though we said like they did achieve their intentions, I feel like other people could say that maybe that they Shakespeare did not achieve his intentions because I feel like a lot of people, I feel like we all, or I feel like Justin, if you didn't like read something beforehand, do you feel like you would be confused?
Yeah, I would have had no clue what was going on. I would have just like enjoyed the music and just like kind of like went with like the visual aspects of it. But like going in there with all that information made it a lot easier to follow from like our
Yeah.
perspective of answering questions.
Yeah. So I feel like for other people, like them also being their first time maybe seeing a theater play and like, I don't know, maybe just even just this play in particular, because it is Shakespeare and Shakespeare is hard to understand, especially in just literature. And I feel like other people could say that he did not achieve his intentions because it was a tad bit confusing and it was a tad bit hard to follow along. Now, maybe it was a little bit easier with like Shakespeare's direct plot, and maybe Miami changed that a little bit, but I still feel like other people could say that although it was funny and there was like a comedy aspect, he didn't achieve his intentions because there wasn't really anything learned from it, like you said earlier, Tess. Like I feel like I didn't have like a lecture point from it. Like most movies, like I don't know, let's say like I don't know, like The Notebook. It's just like about finding love and like going through hardships, and there was a battle between like two people, and it really shows you that like what's important and like what's in front of you. It really makes you like think about life and put you in perspective and think about everything as like a whole. But I feel like this just did not make me think like everything as a whole, and I feel like that would be also a lot a lot of other people's opinions as well. And I feel like they couldn't also see the whole general
Yeah,
like
another like way you could think about it is like it also depends on like what the director's actual intentions were. Like someone
Mhm.
else in this class might say his intentions were just to like take a Shakespeare play and make it visually stunning and
True.
entertaining for the audience. So like in that aspect, then it could be considered more of
Mm.
his intentions were succeeded. So I guess it just kind of depends whether or not like how you classify what the intentions were, whether it be through the themes or just the entertainment aspect.
Yeah, that is true. I agree with that.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with what you're saying. I think also the fact that like never did we say like he was attempting to teach us a life lesson or attempting to show us the complexities of love or share heartbreak in a story with us. Like I guess we kind of knew that that wasn't his goal, and like wasn't Shakespeare's goal or the director's goal or whatever. So it makes sense why, you know, we're saying it's not worthwhile because that goal wasn't reached. So I
Mhm.
guess, you know, diving into like what his clear intentions were, talking back to that first question, like you know, is it dreams versus reality? Is it making a play within another play? Is it, there's so many different themes. And that, I guess that's why, you know, these three questions are great to reason through because every single play and every single movie and, you know, piece of art is going to have different intentions. So it's kind of interesting to try and deep dive through.
Yeah, I get it
Mhm.
definitely makes sense why like in the videos he said like the answers are very subjective because like they all change based on like in what you think the answer for the first one is, like the second two all change based on like what you think that first one is or whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just last thing, adding on to like what was the artist attempting to do? I feel like also incorporating like that fairy aspect and like the like fairyland type of like vibe. I feel like that also was for the purpose of like making people understand it a little easier and like putting it in more of like a, I don't want to say like a kid perspective, but like more of like a fairy tale. And like that is more for like younger adults and like those though like it's easier for them to understand because it's put in a concept of fake reality, and it just for some reason it's just easier to understand. And I feel like he attempted to do that, Shakespeare attempted to do that, but I feel like ultimately it made it more confusing. It made it a little harder to understand too.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Because it's like, what would happen if they took the whole fairy plot out? And like,
Exactly.
if these characters were just making these decisions based on their own volition rather than having a spell be placed upon them. So I
Yeah.
agree. I feel like the fairies were kind of added for like a magical element to make it more enticing for people to like watch. But
Hmm.
it kind of did end up making it be a little bit more confusing because then we're like, well, why are these fairies
Yeah.
casting spells on these people?
Hmm.
Anyways, I just got the notification that this meeting's going to end soon. So should we wrap it up? Are we
Yeah,
good?
I'm good unless you guys. I mean, well, I think we did a good job.
All
Yeah.
right, I will end the recording.
Sweet. And then are you gonna